All right, team, we are back with the Ask Maddie show, and we are going to have an amazing show today discussing some follow-up questions you guys have from our Casper show earlier this week with Michael Stoyer, CTO and president at Casper. And we're also going to get into some maybe what are the best coins to buy out of the strategic reserve. I know personally people are hitting up my phone, I got to buy XRP, I got to buy Hbar. And then we'll get into that conversation later on. We're also going to discuss the intricacies of 2.0 maybe with fee elimination. How much Hbar should I be holding, Maddie? I hate these questions. And what is the better buy right now between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP? These are all your guys' questions that you guys brought. So we're excited to get into it. Matt, what should the team know before we get into the show about Crypto Charge? We got a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe some of you guys have been following it for a little while now. Maybe you're just tuning into our content for the first time. Obviously, put a couple shows a week out here on YouTube for you guys to kind of show you guys a little bit of the caliber of the quality information, as well as just kind of a little bit of our thesis and thought process behind the market. But really, the majority of our analytics, education, and support come from cryptocharge.com. So you guys can head over there, use code YouTube. You guys get 50% off. So that gives you $49 a month plus a 30-day free trial. If you guys use code YouTube, that gives you guys access to our updates Monday through Friday. So again, I know a lot of people are in the space are part-time. They're doing a couple updates a week. We're doing this Monday through Friday. We've got our coin library to give you guys those simple entries and DCA suggestions, as well as our multi-step exits. We have educational content like our consistent investor strategy, as well as the Discord to round that out for you guys to be able to ask questions. And again, go ahead and try to find you guys for $49 a month. You guys get all that value. It's really a very unique proposition we guys are offering for you guys. So at least I'd like for you guys to check out the trial. Again, code YouTube gets you guys 30 days free and the opportunity to check it out.
Yeah, I think it's important you guys do that because, Matt, I think we talk a lot about, buying strategies and cryptos we're buying. And, a lot of people can't quite understand, like, oh, why would you buy Casper right now over XRP or over Hbar? And we get into the nitty gritty over on Crypto Charge. Dan goes into it. Maddie, of course, is going into it almost 4 days a week on the show. And so that's where you're going to get that perspective. We try to portray that here. But you guys need to understand that there are backings to our decisions. We do not do things based off feelings. We are not your guru that you go to and we say, oh, this is good. We should all just ape into this, because that's a very common thing nowadays where a group of people or a big group of people will just jump into a crypto and they'll, try to ride that until the end, and then you get people selling. We're also not on the other side where it's like, oh, we're just talking about things we like. We like this narrative, so we're going to ape into this crypto. That's not what we do. We do the fundamental research, we do the technicals, Matt, and we make decisions based off those things. We are not selling our crypto right now because of tariffs. We are not selling our crypto. We're not, taking out our savings and buying a bunch of crypto because, the economy is bad. We do not make our decisions that way. And so if you guys want the Crypto Charge thesis, is we make our decisions based off the fundamentals, the technicals, not based on the narratives. I was just looking at my chart this morning, Matt, and I was like, wow, dude, like looking at the stock market right now, looking at, assets like Polkadot or even Illuvium you've brought up on the show a lot, people would be so bearish right now. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of selling going on with those assets right now. And to me, it's like, this is the opportunity. This is the moment in which you buy. When everyone is pessimistic, that is when you need to put your money on the line that you worked hard for and invest accordingly into assets that you foresee to take over the future. I know that was a long little rant right there just to start the show, Matt. But what I'm seeing a lot of this, and I find it very sad for people that don't have that background. And that's kind of what you're getting at Crypto Charge, right, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. We've had to remold some people's mindsets. Some people already have the mindset that we have. Obviously, there's lots of enthusiasm in our group over certain types of assets. But even with that enthusiasm, people who are seasoned in our group will encourage newcomers to still make sure we're not rushing in, making sure we're looking at the pricing, making sure that we understand where we are with pricing, and making sure it's the right choice compared to other high quality assets that we have out there. So we still try to encourage each other and get excited about good developments and nice price action, but keep our heads level and encourage each other to make as objective decisions as possible.
Yeah, so I think you guys are going to see that on the show today because I know there's probably a lot of new. We got influx of Twitter followers and a bunch. We hit 12,000 subscribers here on YouTube, so I know there's a lot of people coming in. And that is our background. We are not your guru. We are just here to point you in directions. We're going to point you to TradingView. We're going to point you into, your fundamental research that you need to know before entering a project. We are not here to take all the credit. I am not your daddy that comes to you, hey daddy, what do I need to buy this week? You guys do have questions like that today, but in hopes to point you in the right directions, not to be the end all be all. So Matt, I'm really excited to get into these questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Lisan Al Gaib says, which crypto is the best buy out of the strategic reserve?
So, guys, one thing I really want you guys to focus on here is what we talked about previously. I had so many people texting me and messaging me on socials. Hey, people especially haven't heard from in months or if not years. What do I need to get, in my portfolio before Donald Trump takes office, right? Like I need to be in before Donald Trump takes office because X, Y, Z is going to happen, right? And the markets have really just, melted down basically since Trump took office, right? Like it hasn't been a great time. So I'm glad that I didn't make extra or different investments based off that timeline. Let's also go through the strategic reserve with the same lens. Is it bullish? Is it exciting that we have the potential to include these things as a reserve, as we're going to potentially add these things to the United States balance sheet, essentially, to some extent? Yes. Is it a guarantee? Is it a promise? No, it is not. So I want you guys to remember that there are lots of moving pieces when it comes to what's actually going to be included and how much buying they're actually going to do, right? Because you can mention that you want to include XRP. You can mention you want to include Cardano, but are they going to be buying billions of dollars of Cardano every year? No. Or are they maybe just buying little bits? Or is it maybe only if they seize Cardano, right? So if you guys like the asset and the fundamentals make sense to you and the pricing makes sense to you, great. Let's get after that asset and strategically, right? So don't worry about the United States strategic reserve. Worry about your strategic reserve. Then great. Then let's go ahead and get after it, right? So we obviously have, Hbar, XRP, Cardano, Solana, a variety of alts, Ethereum that were mentioned in there. And there's a different caliber of quality of tech, I think, amongst those, and some of them focus on certain aspects than others, right? When we look at even Ethereum versus XRP right now, these are words you'd probably never expect to hear coming out of my mouth. Ethereum has right now, from current market to TP1, which is the 1.6 minute extension, a better risk to reward ratio than XRP right now, even though I believe that XRP is better tech. And you even look at Cardano. Cardano is offering a much better risk to reward right now than XRP is, both structurally as well as just percentage-wise from current market to TP1. Now, does that mean that I don't believe in XRP and I think that XRP is not going to do really well or might not exceed my expectations? No, of course not. I think XRP is going to do very, very well. It's my largest holding. But I've shifted my focus as XRPs remain elevated, as we've not seen the same size aggressive pullbacks that we've seen in other assets, and I've put my focus elsewhere. So, you guys can take a look at any of those assets. I didn't see any of those assets I would call bad that are, listed as potential strategic reserve assets. But you guys need to look at risk to reward. You guys need to look at the technology, look at market capitalization, look at your risk appetite, look at your existing portfolio, and then make decisions off of that. But for the love of God, please do not blindly buy everything in the strategic reserve or what you think is going to be part of the strategic reserve. You go, the U.S. is going to pump my bags, because they don't have any obligation to buy any amount, if at all. And you could be maybe putting your money behind one single narrative and misspending your dollars.
Grand Hefe says, how can thousands of shit coins get listed in exchanges like Binance and Coinbase, and Casper is not listed?
I would definitely recommend you guys kind of go rewatch our interview with Michael Stoyer yesterday, CTO over at Casper Labs, talking a bit about this. And, we have really come to this realization that a lot of these exchanges don't care about technology as a whole, right? They don't care about necessarily always the highest level of utility. They don't even care about community half the time. What they care about is this coin highly traded even on smaller exchanges? And does that volume, should we move that volume over to our exchange, right? Pepe and Dog with Hat and all these other just complete garbage coins that have zero utility and don't have ecosystems that are actually going to provide anything to financial backing systems, real world asset tokenization, any of that, get listed, right? And why is that? Because they want to make money, and they know that the degens out there are the ones telling each other, hey, go buy $100 of this, $500 of this. I'm gonna buy $1,000 of WIF as a joke, right? And no one ever does it as a joke. It's just a rationalization for poor decision making, in my opinion. So yeah, it's frustrating that Casper hasn't gotten a whole bunch of like T1 US listings. We do obviously have plenty of access to Casper. I would say that it's far less difficult to buy it than even XRP was a couple of years ago. And I really wasn't worried about XRP when it was delisted several years ago. My conviction wasn't any different. My price target, conviction wasn't any different. None of that changed because of the amount of listings that we had here in the US. And now you fast forward, everyone can't get horny enough for XRP, right? Oh, it's part of the strategic reserve. Oh, Garland House is out here at the summit, right? Like that narrative shift is safety in numbers for people. And so at the end of the day, I really don't care what's happening listing wise. I would love to have a T1 listing here in the US, but it doesn't change anything for me because I don't need that safety in numbers. I don't need that, hey, everyone around me agrees with me, because by the time everyone around you agrees with you, it's probably a lot of the opportunity's been missed. Just like XRP, the number of people going, I don't care that XRP is $2. Well, what's going to 8 to 13? I still want to get involved now, right? But at 50 cents, they couldn't potentially even think about putting $1 into it because they thought, oh, well, it's not listed everywhere and I can't just go buy it in 3 seconds on Robinhood. So, I'd love to see it. We're working on it, right? Michael Storer mentioned that he is talking to one of the larger T1 exchanges here in the US. Obviously, we're not able to get a name on that right now. But patience pays, guys. We just got to stay the course here.
Sandy says, wait, so is fee elimination coming to Casper?
Again, make sure you guys go check out yesterday's interview, packed full of this kind of information. We talked about fee elimination. So one of the things that Michael Storer kind of pointed to was more of like a escrow account, essentially, where those fees are kind of held in some sort of escrow account and then are paid back at a later time. So it's not so much that there's a straight elimination of fees, meaning that you don't ever pay any Casper for any transactions, because obviously that's part of the value of any network, is that there is, objects and have certain costs, contracts have certain costs, just like on XRP, right? You have different layers of cost. Those costs have actually been reduced on the XRP ledger greatly. So it's not going to be just raw elimination, but more of a reconfiguration for certain type of actions that are not necessarily required to have fees on the network, but there's still going to be an escrow account to make sure that we kind of get those paid back on the backside.
Yeah, but it's not coming with 2.0. He said yes.
No, not with 2.0. Right. So this, I'm sorry, I didn't want to misspeak there. But that was one of the factors that we talked about, was that potential escrow feature to help reduce upfront fees that are required for Casper.
Yeah, so that was like one of the, when I was looking this weekend at the docs, like that was one of the things that stood out to me, was that fee elimination. So I was excited to talk about that. I was a little disheartened to hear that it wasn't coming out with 2.0, because that was like one of the big things I pulled out of the docs. And so if that's not coming with 2.0, that also leads me to wonder, okay, well, what else on the docs isn't coming with 2.0? And so he talked about Zug being the big consensus upgrade with 2.0. So maybe, I thought what he insinuated there, Matt, was that it could come later in upgrades, like maybe 2.2, 2.3. I think he said something about it being still a concept. So I don't know, but I think that would be cool though.
Definitely. And one of the things that he pointed to was why they weren't necessarily including absolutely everything that was part of their initial launch plan for 2.0 was that, you don't want to change too many variables in an upgrade, because if we change too many variables in an upgrade, sometimes we can't figure out what's causing maybe user interface issues, or causing a lesser ease of use when it comes to the network as a whole. Don't want to have too many variable changes between version changes. So it's not something that we don't want, that he's not or insinuating that's not coming to the Casper network, just not included in just the raw 2.0 upgrade.
Stu says, how much Hbar would you say is decent or a good amount?
Depends on your bank account, brother. Depends on your risk tolerance. Depends on what kind of debt you have. These kinds of questions are so generic, and you're basically kind of asking for just a blanket financial advice, and I don't know anything about you or your financial situation. Hbar right now is very expensive. And again, I always say that expensive has nothing to do with price itself. It's always price and relativity to structure, as well as pullbacks. And we just have a very elevated price for Hbar. You can have goals for yourself. You can have goals percentage-wise for your portfolio, number of Hbar you want to receive. Again, one of the things that I've seen my team start to learn over time, especially people who have been with us 8, 12, 2 years beyond, they stop being so focused on number of coins that they have. Oh, I have to have 1 million. I have to have this many of this coin. And it really becomes more about rebalancing the portfolio, focusing on where your attention is needed based on certain averages, because you'll have lots of asymmetry in your portfolio and that will change over time. Whereas Zcash was at one point one of the biggest focuses for me, is not so much that big of a focus for me now, as I have other things in my portfolio that need my attention. So with a consistent investor strategy, it's constantly reevaluating either your dollar cost average average or your limit-based ordering situation, and adjusting that based on what the market is offering and what needs the most help in your portfolio. So if your Hbar is still deeply underwater right now for whatever reason, you decided to start buying after we got these crazy pops, maybe you do need to start DCAing more into Hbar to help lower that average. But I would imagine that there's other things in your portfolio that need your attention a lot more than Hbar right now. So there's never a good amount. I think that that's just like a very like weird blanket term that people use. That's completely relative to your budget, right? For some people, $500, $1,000 of Hbar is like a really huge amount. And to some people, that's what they DCA on a weekly basis in Hbar. So I don't know what a good amount is for you. You'd have to look at your portfolio. You'd have to set a budget for yourself. Again, something that the consistent investor strategy we talk about is setting that budget for yourself. So maybe buying $25 a month of Hbar is a good amount of Hbar for you. But I can't tell that for you because I don't know if you have enormous amount of revolving credit card debt. I don't know what your mortgage payment looks like. I don't know what all these other factors in your life look like to tell you what a good amount looks like.
Benny the Jet says, which is a better buy right now between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP?
I unfortunately kind of answered this one a little bit earlier towards the top of the show here, but ETH is a little bit of a better buy right now than XRP, just risk to reward ratio wise. And it really comes down to the lack of correction that we've had in XRP. I'll just show you guys really quickly the XRP chart just so you guys can see like where my mindset's at. And again, for years, I was telling you guys like XRP over ETH, XRP over ETH, right? And now it's not that I'm buying ETH and I'm not buying ETH. I have other things in my portfolio that are still providing much better risk to reward ratio than ETH. But you guys look at this XRP chart right here. We're on this 3-day chart. You guys see this imbalance here? Do you guys see this 91-cent imbalance here from July? Didn't test that. You guys see this double top in here around $1.34 from 2021. Didn't test that. You guys can see even some of these lower imbalances here towards like 66, 70, 67 cents, never tested. So you have all of this crazy bullish price action up here. And you've just got this ugly little consolidation up here, and you haven't offered that back test. So if we're looking objectively at this and we go swing high, swing low off that 2018 high, 2019 low, and we see that next 1.618 puts us around 530, right? It's roughly like 150% move from current market, which some of you guys are like, yeah, I'll take 150% move. Cool. That's fine. Like I'm not telling you guys not to do or what to do. You look at the full extension from current market up and towards the $14 mark. Of course, we are looking towards 21 as a blow off just because XRP has been cooking for so long. It's a little over a 5X, right? And we roll over to the Ethereum chart, which has had a much deeper correction, has done actually a proper rebalancing since that breakout. Now, hasn't popped into a new high yet, but has done proper rebalancing. We're settling into a very beautiful zone here. And I look at the swing high, swing low from current market. We see the 1.618. It's offering almost a 3X reward up into that $7,300 mark and almost an 8 or a 9X up into that 4.236. So again, not telling you guys what to do. If XRP were to offer a more aggressive pullback, at least back into the 130, 140 zone, great. We can get after that. But just like previously where I was pointing to certain alts and when we were like, well, but what if I get into Bitcoin now? Bitcoin's at 70K. I should get some now, right? And I'd be like, no, the better risk to rewards here still here in XRP. That's not the case anymore. So I hope that you guys can see that I review things as objectively as possible. It's not just about the stuff that I really like. ETH is absolutely the better buy than XRP right now. And again, we don't even have to talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's rewards are dismal at this point. Even at 70K, it's really just not worth the squeeze at this point. So that's where my head's at with it, guys. Again, you guys make decisions that are good for you. Some of you guys are very long-term. You don't even plan on selling the cycle. You're looking to sell 10, 20 years from now. Great. Maybe XRP is the better buy for you because you believe in the tech long-term. If you guys are cycle trading, though, the math is the math, and that's where my head's at.
Pretty good breakdown there, Matt. We finished a little bit early here. Anything to wrap up with? What did you think about Stoyer this week? What did you think about what he had to say?
I thought it was a good interview. I think that we talked about a lot of exciting things that are coming to the network. We talked a lot about also real world asset tokenization and kind of the reality of what upgradable smart contracts are going to bring for the world as a whole. We also talked a lot about intellectual property. I know that a lot of us were disappointed when IPW wasn't able to come to fruition and see that follow through with full deployment on the network after doing months and months of DevNet testing with their product. But I think that the bigger topic that we were talking about is that real adoption is still coming. And we just haven't really seen it, fully fledged out yet. I would say that we could say the same thing of other assets, even though that there's like kind of that, hypothetical sandbox model of this works in a vacuum. Even with things like XRP and Ethereum, where it's like, yeah, we are still doing, some testnet stuff, but it's not quite fully there yet. Propy is a great example of this too, where they've done a few deploys where they have, small apartment complexes or whatever that were tied to an LLC and then sold on the blockchain, and that's great and dandy, but those are still very niche examples that don't translate to the everyday user yet, right? Like I can't take my single family residential property, mint it as an NFT today, mint it, put it on the blockchain, and then have a smart contract that executes. We still have other pieces in the world that even if we want to implement those things today, there's roadblocks beyond blockchain and DLT as a whole that are holding us back from that. So I know that some of these conversations start to feel kind of like hypothetical and maybe like they're not going to come to fruition. But once you do get some of those regulatory pieces of framework installed and you have a little bit of a greater understanding from a resale perspective of the value of this tech and that it's not just all fugazi internet money, that's when you start to see a big amount of building. But it's usually a much longer period of speculative growth, speculative retail coming in and out of the market before you actually see those big strides of real world asset adoption really set in. So I'm very grateful to be on this side of it, right? Like, I mean, you guys look at the internet. Do you guys think the internet actually blew up in the 2000s, or were we building for a long time and the internet people just weren't using it because, computers were still very expensive and not a lot of people could afford internet yet, like let alone dial up, right? You had a very slow boogie through the 90s, and then it was in the 2000s and even the 2010s that the internet has really, really grown aggressively. A lot of you guys, if you even look 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and obviously now, all of those decades have offered and ushered in a very different but important wave of tech and evolution of the internet as we see it now, including crypto, right? Crypto is almost, to some extent, a reiteration of previous versions of the internet. So I know that we all want adoption tomorrow. We want it to be ready tangibly in our hands. We want to, shove it in our friends and family's face. Hey, we were right, you idiot. You should have bought it because now your car is on the blockchain tomorrow. But I'm excited about it long term. I still think that we're going to have a lot of road bumps along the way that are going to maybe be frustrating, but I think we're in the right spot. I think we're in the driver's seat of the correct car. It's just never a straight path when you're an early investor, but those are where the rewards are made. So hope you guys are staying vigilant. Hope you guys are staying faithful and consistent because I think we're going to be rewarded greatly for especially us long-term holders.
Yeah, very well said there, Matt. A lot of good perspective there. And even too, just like to piggyback off what you said, because it is always a slow boogie when it relates to development. Last year was a crazy year for me to see just because a lot can change even over, not overnight, but like within a span of a couple months with a new power that came with the Trump administration, with just it vocally coming. And I think that actually changed a lot because you even saw Gensler. He knew he was out the door. So we saw early on, I think it was like in September, October, he wrote his little letter about his time at the SEC. He already knew his time was over. And so even with what has transpired since then, I don't think we've seen that in short-term price action. Obviously, Bitcoin's not at great prices. A lot of the altcoins are suffering right now, even with a strategic reserve. But I think in the long term, that's going to win because now the focus a lot of the working group have talked about is regulatory clarity, and that is setting precedent here in America. And I think that's going to set a big deal elsewhere around the world because now they're like, oh, we need regulatory clarity. China was just talking about this a couple weeks ago. It's like, oh, we need clear framework for regulation here. And so what is it also going to look like with other countries maybe buying crypto? I know we were joking. I was joking somewhere, just with like the whole White House summit and how silly that was because it really was silly. And there was no follow through with David Sachs on relation to what he had to say the weekend prior, what Trump said the weekend prior about a strategic reserve. And now it's just going to be some confiscation. And then, there's really no serious plan to actually hoard digital assets. And actually just seems like it was for the optics, just like I said. So it's like, okay, well, team, make strategic decisions. And if you don't know how to make those strategic decisions, we hope to provide that a little bit on the shows. If you don't have any clue, though, you just have to join a community like Crypto Charge. You got to be watching shows. You got to be able to have access to tools that are going to help you start your portfolio. And you have to have access to a community like our Discord where you can bounce ideas off other people and see what other people are doing that have been successful in crypto and how you can implement that into your doing in your portfolio. So team, highly stressed you do that. Welcome, Matt. We got to welcome all the new people here, a big influx of people here. So thank you for joining us, team. We hope you got some value here. So make sure you leave a like, and we will be back next week with our other shows, team. Bye.